Welcome to the Introduction to Perfectly Tied Stamps, Dies, Stencils, and Embossing folder. This bundle includes a small sentiment stamp set with a few additional images. We also have a two-piece stencil. There is an embossing folder so you can use that with your stencil or on its own, and then a coordinating die for sentiments and also the bows. So first, let's take a closer look at the sentiments on this stamp set. First, we have a beautiful day. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip hooray. And you're so lovely. There's also a single bow, a small bow, and a couple hearts. There are coordinating dies for the bows, hearts, and sentiments. Then for the embossing folder and the stencil, you can emboss your panel with the embossing folder and then go over the top with the two-piece layering stencil. In the coordinating die, it does have dies to cut out certain bows on this background. And you can do that on just the stenciled panel. If you decide to do it after your panel is embossed with the embossing folder, you may lose some of that dimension that the embossing folder provides. So you might want to die cut your pieces first and then place them into your embossing folder like a puzzle piece and then add the embossed details. Here's a panel where I just used the stencil and then the coordinating die to die cut out the bows. Now I'll show you how this would work. So you would take a piece of cardstock. I have white cardstock from Concord and Ninth measuring 6 by 6. I'm going to just feel which side of the embossing folder that I want to use. And then I'm going to take the cardstock and spritz it with some water. That's just going to help loosen the fibers of the paper and help minimize the cracking. Now I'm placing this in the embossing folder and then I'm going to run this through my die cut machine with the recommended sandwich for my particular machine. Then as I pull it out, we have a beautifully embossed panel, and you can use either side, the embossed or the debossed side. And it creates kind of all the fun detail of the bows, like the loops and the little marks of where your knot is tied. So just a lot of great detail in this embossing folder. Then I'm going to work with layering the stencil over the top of this. So it is a two-piece stencil. The first layer of the stencil kind of gives you more color of the bows. The second layer kind of adds the darker shadows inside the tied bows. So I just temporarily tacked my cardstock down to my work surface, placed the first layer of the stencil over the top, and it really kind of just fits into place like a puzzle piece. So I ink blended with a lilac ink, and then I'm lining up the second layer of the stencil. Again, it's going to really kind of fit in like a puzzle piece, and you can also just eyeball it too. You'll see where it's going to line up with your previous layer. And for that one, I did fig ink. So on this panel, I had it where the light color was kind of more the prominent color. And on the panel on the right-hand side, I had it where the darker color was more of the prominent color. Either way works really great and looks beautiful. Now we'll take a look at some card projects that I created. So for this panel, I did a rainbow blend across my stencil background. I did also use the embossing folder to add all of that extra detail in the bows. I had it trimmed down and added to a card front created with, I believe that was cobblestone cardstock. And now on this one, I created my own presents. So I trimmed out some squares and rectangles using different shades of cardstock. I think that was nectar, maybe some sorbet and juniper. I added the dots stencil over the top and then added my bows to the top of it. So it makes a great maybe birthday, anniversary, wedding kind of card to create your own presents. And I love that there are coordinating dies for the sentiments, so I could pop those over the top to add even more dimension. And that is your introduction to the perfectly tied stamp, stencil, embossing folder, and die set, available now at Concord and Ninth. Thanks for watching.